Sometimes.
Then person, I'm saddened to see what BBC recently released.
To see David, we need to change our angle. If these shots hit him too, that officer's 50 meters from the pair as he takes them. And it just so happens one journalist was filming in the right place at the right time.
I was stopped. The airing of BBC Blood Parliament documentary was stopped by authorities. They are very powerful, but they can't stop the truth from being aired.
My name's Jilo Bukesaid, human rights defender and climate activist. Today, I want to react to the BBC documentary dubbed Blood Parliament.
Hii ni habari ya Headmaster Networks. Unatazama Headmaster Networks. Hii ni habari ya Headmaster Networks.
Kufuatia ufichuzi wa shirika la kimataifa la kupeperusha habari la BBC ikifichua baadhi ya maafisa wa polisi na jeshi waliohusika kwenye vifo vya baadhi ya waandamanaji mwaka jana, baadhi ya wanaharakati kutoka Isiolo wameikashifu serikali kuu kwa kutoweka juhudi zozote kuhakikisha waliohusika wamechukuliwa hatua za kisheria. Wakiongea na Headmaster Networks, Jilo Buke na Salat Dadicha wameitaka serikali kuu kuchukulia hatua maafisa waliohusika na mauaji ya waandamanaji na hata kuwalipia fidia vijana waliouawa wakati wa maandamano hayo.
As a young person, I'm saddened to see what BBC recently released in their documentary. To my surprise, our media houses, Kenyan media houses, never showed us behind the scenes what really happened. As a young person who was in support of the protest, it was sad to see how young men and women in this country were brutally murdered by police when they were entering the Kenyan National Assembly, the Kenyan Parliament. Our aim was to occupy the Parliament and shed the lights on our grievances, on what we don't want in the previous finance bill. We are sad to see our security forces, especially the Kenya Defense Forces, which we respect so much, taking part in the killings. In the documentary, a Kenya Defense Forces officer was marked, and I clearly identified as the person who had the headshot in one of the protesters. As a country, we are sad. We are saddened by the events that happened last year. We hope the government will take action, and every person who took part in the killings will be brought to book. The documentary clearly showed us the protest we had, the process we used as the youth, even in entering the parliament. But the saddening part was on police brutality. Police killed a lot of youth who were there just to express themselves on the high taxes that the government had proposed on us. At the moment, the country is in a crisis. Nobody has money, but the government is still taxing us and taxing us. Most of the youth are jobless. How can you even tax jobless youths? They even wanted to tax the sanitary towels, which most of the girls even can't afford. The casualties were very many. We know they are hidden. We know the government is hiding a lot of casualties that happened, that were killed during that day. And we demand justice for all those youth who were killed in that day. June last year was a very dark period for us. The whole country lost a lot of youth. In the documentary, they estimated around 60 youth were killed in Nairobi. But what about other parts of the country that experienced the same police brutality?
In any given protest, police are supposed to use tear gas, maybe use rubber bullets against the civilians when they are overwhelmed. But if you clearly look at all the scenarios captured in the BBC documentary dubbed Blood Parliament, none of those protesters were armed. Even here in Isiolo, the 7 young men who were shot by police, none of them was armed, none of them was violent. The police could have just used tear gas, and if they feel overwhelmed, they could have used a rubber bullet. We are not disputing the fact that among the protesters, we had hooligans who would go beyond a rightful protest and maybe use stones, throw stones at police. For instance, say in Isiolo, there is a police officer who was injured at that particular time. Even this police officer, they need justice. But what we are requesting, or rather, no, it's not a request, what we are demanding is for the government to fulfill its promise of compensating the victims.
Hata hivyo, wamedai kuwa Wakenya wengi wamekosa imani na serikali na idara ya usalama kutokana na visa vya mwaka jana ambavyo hadi kufikia sasa havijatatuliwa.
The country are not heading the right direction because one, the youth currently are not aware of what government is planning for them. We fear this year the finance bill might be much punitive, but the youth have no hope with this government. We had a lot of hopes during election, but at the moment, youth have lost hope. We're heading in the wrong direction. We've seen the corruption scandals that are skyrocketing in the country. Recently, the former president told us to defend our country. You see politicians giving 20 million, 200 million, 1 million, 10 million in churches, in other fundraisings. Yet, our president told us he had stopped fundraising in previous years. As a country, we are not headed the right direction. Youth are in depression. Drugs are killing the youth. And the government itself is killing the youth.
Several of them at Kenyatta National Hospital, here in Isiolo, majority of the victims of police brutality were at Isiolo Referral Hospital, and some of them at private hospitals. But 1 year down the line, it is business as usual. Nobody seems to care about what happened to these victims. There was no medical bill that was settled for the victim. Neither there was no compensation for the families of the deceased. More worrying, no action was taken against police officers who had used excessive force against the protesters.
Kadhalika wanaitaka IPOA kuchapisha na kuharakisha ripoti kuhusu uchunguzi kwa wahadhiriwa wa maandamano hayo.
All the police officers across the country, not police officers, but rather the rogue police officers who misused their firearms are known. In that particular documentary, they have been captured very well. 2 of them have been identified beyond reasonable doubt. Even when you go to other parts of the country, the police officers who are involved in this particular misuse and excessive use of force are known. Even here in Isiolo, they are known. But despite them being known, as I had earlier stated, the failure comes from IPOA. So it needs a collective responsibility from all the stakeholders. That includes government, independent commissions like IPOA, like Kenya National Human Rights and other non-governmental organizations to push the government to bring these officers to book. Because if you are known for violating law, there is no need for you being kept within the police service because you are not fit. They should be taken through judicial process.